The morning sun rose over Thesara Prime like it did every other day, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Commander Velthar stood at his window, watching the light spread across the colony. His clawed hands gripped the edge of the windowsill tight enough to leave marks. He had not slept again. The dreams never let him sleep for long. 30 years had passed since the war ended. 30 years since he last wore his military uniform or commanded troops into battle. 30 years since he watched humans fight like nothing else in the galaxy. But the memories stayed fresh like wounds that refused to heal. Velthar's reflection stared back at him from the glass. His gray skin had dulled with age, and his once sharp eyes looked tired. He was old now by Vrak standards. Most soldiers from his generation were dead, either from the war or from their own hands afterward. The ones who survived learned to hide in quiet places like the Thesara Prime, far from the core worlds where people might remember them. He forced himself to move away from the window. His apartment was small and plain. He kept nothing from his military days, no medals or weapons or photographs. Those things belonged to a different person, someone he tried very hard not to be anymore. His communication device beeped. Velthar almost ignored it, but the message was marked urgent from the colony administrator. He opened it and felt his blood run cold. The message was simple. Humanity had been granted permission to establish a diplomatic outpost on Thesara Prime. The first team would arrive within 3 days. As the colony's defense consultant, Velthar was required to attend the welcome ceremony and assist with security arrangements. His hands started shaking. The device slipped from his grip and clattered on the floor. Humans, here, on his world. The room suddenly felt too small. Velthar stumbled to the bathroom and splashed cold water on his face. But when he looked up, he did not see himself in the mirror. He saw Arcturus Ridge. He saw the canyon filled with Vrak's bodies. He saw 5 human soldiers standing in the middle of it all, covered in blood, still fighting even though they should have been dead hours ago. Velthar gripped the sink and forced himself to breathe. In through the mouth, out through the nose, the way the medical officers taught him. Count to 10. Remember where you are. Remember when you are. It took several minutes before his heart stopped racing. He made it to his office somehow, though he could not remember the walk. His assistant, a young Vrax named Kel, greeted him cheerfully. Kel had been born after the war. He did not understand why Velthar sometimes went pale and quiet for no reason. Did you see the news? Kel asked, excited. Humans are coming. I have never met a human before. They say humans look almost like us, but with smooth skin and no tail. Is that true? Velthar sat down heavily. Yes, that is true. They must be fascinating. I read that humans come from a death world. Heavy gravity, dangerous predators, extreme weather, and they still became a spacefaring species. That takes real strength. Kel had no idea what human strength really meant. He did not know what it looked like when a human refused to die, when they kept fighting with broken bones and torn flesh and blood loss that would kill any other species, when they looked at you with those forward-facing predator eyes and decided you were prey. Commander, are you all right? Velthar realized he had been silent too long. I am fine. Just thinking about security arrangements, but he was not fine. For the rest of the day, he could barely focus. Every task reminded him of something from the war. Planning patrol routes made him think of the ambushes at Kepler System. Reviewing supply lines made him remember the siege of Kronos Station, where human forces held out for 6 months without resupply, eating things that should not be food and drinking recycled water until they finally broke through Vrak's lines. That evening, Velthar did something he had not done in years. He visited Rixtar. Rixtar had been his second in command during the war. They served together for 12 years, fought in 37 battles, and watched hundreds of soldiers die under their command. After the war ended, Rixtar moved to the edge of the colony, built a small house in the wilderness, and never spoke to anyone unless necessary. The house looked rough and poorly maintained. Velthar knocked on the door and waited. It took a long time before Rixtar answered. Vel, Rixtar said quietly. He looked worse than Velthar felt. His skin was almost white from staying indoors, and his eyes held the same haunted look that Velthar saw in his own mirror. You heard? Velthar asked. About the humans. Yes. Rixtar stepped aside to let him enter. The house was dark and cluttered with old books and broken equipment. I thought about leaving, going to another colony. But where would I go? They are everywhere now. making peace, building alliances, expanding trade, as if the war never happened. It happened, Velthar said, did it? Sometimes I wonder if I imagined it all, if my memories are real or just nightmares that feel real. Rixtar poured them both some bitter tea. His hand shook as he held the cup. Do you remember Broken Moon? Velthar closed his eyes. I try not to. I dream about it every night. That one human soldier holding the choke point. We hit him with everything. Plasma rounds, fragmentation grenades, sonic disruptors. Nothing stopped him. He just kept shooting. Kept fighting. For 6 hours. Hyun, Velthar said softly. His name was Hyun. You remember his name? I remember all their names. The ones who should have died but did not. The ones who killed my soldiers and then kept killing. I looked them up after the war. Read their files. Tried to understand. Rixtar stared at him. Did it help? No. They sat in silence for a while, drinking their tea. Finally, Rixtar spoke again. Why did you come here, Vel? I do not know if I can face them. The humans, when they arrive. Then leave. Run. Find another colony. I have been running for 30 years. Maybe it is time to stop. Or maybe, Rixtar said, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. Maybe they came here for you. Maybe they know who you are, what you did, and maybe they want revenge. Velthar had not considered that, but now that Rixtar said it, the fear took root in his mind like poison. He left Rixtar's house as the sun set. The walk back to his apartment felt longer than usual. Every shadow looked like a human soldier. Every sound made him jump. By the time he reached his door, his hearts were pounding hard enough to hurt. That night, Velthar did not even try to sleep. He sat at his window and watched the stars, knowing that somewhere up there, a ship full of humans was getting closer. In 3 days, they would be here. In 3 days, his past would catch up to him. He wondered if he would survive it this time. The human ship arrived exactly on schedule. Velthar stood with the other colony officials at the landing platform, wearing his formal consultant uniform. His legs felt weak and his mouth was dry. Around him, curious colonists gathered to see the humans for the first time. They talked excitedly, pointing at the ship as it descended. Velthar wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at him to leave, to hide, to get as far away as possible. But he forced himself to stay still. He was not a soldier anymore. This was not a battlefield. These humans came in peace. He kept telling himself that, but his body did not believe it. The ship's door opened. A ramp extended to the platform. And then they appeared. The first human down the ramp was young and smiled easily. He wore simple diplomatic robes and carried no visible weapons. He approached the colony administrator with his hand extended in the human greeting gesture. Administrator Kelvar, the human said in perfect Vrax language. Thank you for welcoming us. My name is Taiho. I lead the diplomatic mission. Taiho. The name sounded pleasant, harmless, but Velthar's eyes were not on him. They were locked on the woman who walked 3 steps behind him, scanning the crowd with sharp, calculating eyes. She moved like water, fluid and controlled. Her posture was relaxed but ready. She wore a plain security uniform, but Velthar could see the compact weapon on her hip and at least 3 knives hidden in her boots and belt. Her eyes met his for just a moment, and in that instant he knew. She was a warrior, a real one, the kind who survived real combat. This is Hana, Taiho continued, gesturing to the woman. She handles our security. And this is Day, our cultural liaison and xenobiologist. A third human stepped forward, older than the others, with kind eyes and gentle movements. Day bowed in the Vrax style, which made several colonists smile with appreciation. The administrator gave his welcome speech. Taiho responded with warm words about friendship and cooperation. Everyone clapped politely. But Velthar barely heard any of it. He kept watching Hana, and she kept watching the crowd, never relaxing for even a second. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Velthar tried to slip away, but the administrator caught him. Commander Velthar, I would like you to meet our guests. You will be working closely with Hana on security coordination. No, that could not happen. But before Velthar could make an excuse, Hana was there, standing in front of him. Up close, he could see old scars on her hands and neck. Battle scars, Commander, she said, her voice neutral. I look forward to working with you. She extended her hand. Velthar stared at it. In his mind, he saw another human hand covered in blood, gripping a weapon, pulling a trigger. He forced himself to take her hand and shake it. Her grip was strong and firm. Yes, he managed to say. Welcome to Thesara Prime. The reception dragged on forever. Velthar stayed near the walls, drinking water and trying to look normal. But then Day approached him with that kind smile. You look uncomfortable, Day said gently. Big social events can be difficult. I usually hide in corners too. Despite everything, Velthar almost smiled. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who does the same thing. Day looked around the room. This colony is beautiful. I have studied Vrax culture for years, but being here is different from reading about it. Better. You studied us? Velthar asked, of course. Understanding other species is my life's work. The Vrax have such a rich history. Your art, your philosophy, your approach to honor and duty. It is all fascinating. Velthar did not know what to say. This human spoke about the Vrax with genuine respect and interest. It felt wrong somehow. Humans were supposed to be brutal, cold, efficient killers, not scholars who appreciated art and philosophy. Did you fight in the war? Velthar asked quietly. Day's smile faded. No, I was too young. But my parents did. They were medical officers. They saw terrible things on both sides. Day paused. The war was a tragedy. So much death. So much pain. I became a xenobiologist because I believe understanding each other is how we prevent it from happening again. Before Velthar could respond, alarms blared throughout the building. Everyone froze. Then Hana's voice cut through the confusion, calm and commanding. Mining accident at Sector 7. Multiple workers trapped. We need emergency response teams now. The room erupted into organized chaos. Velthar's training kicked in automatically. He moved to the command center with Hana and the colony's emergency coordinator. Maps appeared on screen showing the collapsed mining tunnels. 15 workers trapped, the coordinator said. 8 Vrax, 7 humans. The main tunnel collapsed. They are in a pocket about 200 meters down. What equipment do we have? Hana asked. 2 rescue crawlers, portable scanners, medical supplies. But the tunnel is unstable. It could collapse further at any moment. Hana studied the maps. We need to go in fast. Small team, minimal equipment to reduce weight. I will lead it. I will go with you, Velthar said. The words came out before he could think about them. Hana looked at him. You have rescue training? Military combat rescue. 12 years of experience, she nodded once. Good, get your gear. We leave in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, they were in a crawler heading toward the mine. Velthar sat across from Hana in the cramped vehicle. She checked her equipment with practiced efficiency. Every movement was precise and purposeful. You were military, she said suddenly. It was not a question. Velthar's blood went cold. Yes, a long time ago, I can tell. The way you move. The way you assess threats. She looked up at him. What did you do in the war? I commanded a battalion. Ground forces, he hesitated. You? Marine. Special operations, special operations. Velthar's worst fear confirmed. Special operations humans were the ones who did the impossible, the ones who turned defeats into victories through sheer will and violence, the ones who haunted his dreams. Ghost company? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Hana's hand stopped moving. She looked at him directly, and her eyes were hard as steel. How did you know that name? I studied the units that fought against us. Ghost Company killed 3 of my battalions in the Kepler system. Over 2,000 soldiers. The crawler went silent except for the engine. Hana stared at him and Velthar stared back. 30 years of fear and trauma stood between them. We did what we had to do. Hana said finally. We were outnumbered 20 to 1, outgunned. We were supposed to die there. But we did not. No, Velthar agreed. You did not. You never did. What does that mean? It means I watched humans fight in ways that should not be possible. I watched you refuse to die when any sane species would surrender. I watched you turn battlefields into nightmares. His voice grew harder. I watched one human soldier hold a position for 6 hours against 300 Vrax. His name was Hyun. Do you know that name? Hana's face went pale. All the color drained from her skin. What did you say? Hyun Battle of Broken Moon. He killed 17 of my soldiers before he died. I was there. I saw it. Hana stood up so fast she hit her head on the crawler's low ceiling. She did not seem to notice. Hyun was my brother. The words hit Velthar like a physical blow. Of all the humans in the galaxy, he was trapped in a vehicle with the sister of the soldier who haunted him most. We are here, the driver called out. The crawler stopped at the mine entrance. Hana grabbed her gear without looking at Velthar. When she spoke, her voice was cold and professional. We have a job to do. 15 people need us. We will deal with everything else later. Understood? Understood, Velthar replied. They entered the mine together. 2 veterans carrying ghosts of the same war, walking into darkness to save lives instead of taking them. The mine was dark and cold. Velthar's headlamp cut through the blackness as he followed Hana deeper into the tunnels. Water dripped from the ceiling, and the walls groaned under the pressure of tons of rock above them. Each step felt dangerous. Watch your footing, Hana said. The ground is unstable here. They moved carefully through the collapsed section. Velthar carried the scanning equipment while Hana led the way, checking for structural weaknesses. 2 other rescue workers followed behind them, but they stayed quiet and let the veterans work. I am getting readings, Velthar said, studying his scanner. Life signs ahead? About 50 meters. On how many? All 15. They are alive. Hana nodded and increased her pace, but after another 20 meters they hit a wall of rubble. The tunnel was completely blocked. Hana ran her hands over the rocks, testing their stability. We cannot dig through this, she said. Too unstable. The whole section could come down. There is another tunnel, Velthar said, checking his map. Older route. Not maintained, probably flooded, but it connects to the pocket where they are trapped. Show me. They backtracked and found the old tunnel entrance. Water poured out of it, ankle deep and freezing cold. Hana shined her light down the tunnel. It disappeared into darkness. How far? She asked. 200 meters through water. Then we have to climb up through a vertical shaft to reach them. Can your species handle the cold water? I know Vraks are sensitive to temperature. Velthar appreciated her asking. Most species did not care. I can manage for a short time, but not long exposure. Then I go first. I test the route. If it is safe, we bring the others through quickly. No, Velthar said. We go together. If something happens, one person cannot handle it alone. Hana looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Together, they entered the flooded tunnel. The water was shockingly cold. Within seconds, Velthar's legs started going numb, but he pushed forward, following Hana's light. The tunnel was tight and low. Several times they had to crawl through sections where the ceiling had partially collapsed. Talk to me, Hana said. Keep your mind active. It helps with the cold. What should I say? Why did you save those prisoners at Meridian Gate? The question caught him off guard. He almost slipped on the wet rocks. You know about that? Everyone knows about that. The Vraks commander who defied orders to spare human captives. You were court-martialed for it. I was. Why did you do it? Velthar climbed over a fallen beam. The water was deeper here, up to his chest. Because it was wrong. The war was already ending. Killing prisoners would not change anything. It would just be murder. Your superiors did not see it that way. No, they wanted revenge. They wanted to punish humanity for fighting so hard. For killing so many Vrak soldiers. He paused, remembering. But when I looked at those prisoners, I did not see monsters. I saw soldiers who were tired and scared and ready for the war to end. Just like my own troops. That must have taken courage. Or cowardice. My commander said I was too weak to do what was necessary. They were wrong, Hana said firmly. Mercy is not weakness, especially during war. They reached the vertical shaft. It was a narrow chimney going straight up. Hana tested the first few meters, then climbed. Velthar followed. The cold had slowed his movements, making his limbs clumsy. Halfway up, his hand slipped. He started to fall. Hana's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. She held him steady until he found his grip again. Thank you, he gasped. We are a team. Teams do not let each other fall. They climbed the rest of the way in silence. At the top, they found the trapped miners huddled in a small pocket. The air was stale and hot. Most of them looked exhausted but uninjured. One human sat against the wall with blood on his shirt. Rescue team, Hana announced. We are getting you out. Who is injured? June, another human said, pointing. Debris hit him. He has been bleeding for hours. Hana moved to June immediately. She opened her medical kit and started treating his wounds. Velthar watched her work. Her hands were steady and gentle. This was not the brutal killer he expected. This was someone who cared about saving lives. How bad is it? June asked weakly. You will live, Hana said, but you lost a lot of blood. Can you walk? I can try, good man. Stay strong for a little longer. Velthar organized the other miners. The Vraks were all stable. The humans were in worse shape from the heat and bad air, but they could all move. Getting everyone down the shaft and through the flooded tunnel would be difficult but possible. We need to move fast, Velthar said. The cold water will be dangerous for the Vraks, and the humans cannot stay in it long either with these injuries. They started moving. Velthar helped the Vraks miners down the shaft while Hana assisted the humans. June nearly fell twice, but each time he caught himself and kept going. The determination in his eyes reminded Velthar of something. That same look he saw in human soldiers during the war. That refusal to quit no matter what. In the flooded tunnel, things got harder. The injured miners struggled with the cold water. One Vrak started shaking badly. Velthar had to support him the entire way. Hana carried most of June's weight while he tried to walk. "Keep moving," Hana said calmly. "We are almost there. You can do this." "I am sorry," June said through chattering teeth. "Slowing you down? You are doing fine. Your body is doing exactly what it should. It is keeping you alive. Trust it." Velthar realized something then. This was why humans were so dangerous. Not because they were cruel or violent by nature, but because they refused to accept failure. They pushed through pain and fear and exhaustion until their bodies simply stopped working. And even then, they kept trying. When they finally emerged from the tunnel, medical teams were waiting. They took the miners quickly, checking vitals and starting treatments. Velthar collapsed against the wall, shaking from cold and exhaustion. Hana sat down beside him, breathing hard. "Good work," she said. "You too." They sat in silence while the medical teams worked. Finally, Hana spoke quietly. "My brother's last message said he hoped his death would end the war, that his sacrifice would matter. For years I was angry because I thought it did not. Thought he died for nothing." She looked at Velthar. "But then I learned about a Varax commander who saved thousands of human prisoners when he could have killed them. Who chose mercy when his superiors ordered revenge, and I wondered if maybe Hyun's hope was not wasted." Velthar felt something break inside him, something that had been locked tight for 30 years. "I see him every night." "Your brother?" "In my dreams. I see him fighting, and I cannot understand how any being could fight like that. With such determination, such violence." "He was terrified," Hana said softly. "We all were. Your people were winning. You had better weapons, more ships, stronger technology. Humanity thought we were facing extinction. So we fought the only way we knew how. We became the thing nightmares fear. It worked. Yes, but it cost us. Every human soldier who fought in that war came home broken in some way. We saved humanity, but we lost pieces of ourselves doing it." Velthar understood that better than she knew. "What do we do now? With all these ghosts? We make sure their deaths meant something. We build the peace they died hoping for." She stood up slowly, starting with not letting the past poison the future. She offered her hand to help him up. Velthar stared at it. 30 years ago, he would have seen that hand as a weapon. Now he saw it as an offer of alliance. He took it. News of the rescue spread quickly through the colony. By the next morning, everyone knew that Commander Velthar and the human security chief worked together to save 15 lives. Most people celebrated this as a sign of growing friendship between species, but not everyone was happy. Velthar woke to find messages flooding his communication device. Most were congratulations and thanks, but several were different. They came from anonymous sources and said terrible things: traitor, human sympathizer, race betrayer. Some included death threats. He deleted them without responding, but his hands shook as he did it. That afternoon, he met with Hana at the human outpost to coordinate ongoing security. The building was small but well defended. Velthar noticed guard positions, sensor arrays, and reinforced walls. These humans were not taking chances. Taiho greeted him warmly. "Commander!" "Thank you for yesterday. June is recovering well. The doctors say he will be fine." "I am glad," Velthar said. "How is he handling it?" "He keeps joking that he is too stubborn to die." "Very human attitude," Taiho smiled. "Please come in. Day wanted to talk with you." They found Day in a room filled with books and artifacts. The xenobiologist was studying Vrak's poetry with intense focus. "Velthar," Day said excitedly. "I have been reading about your pre-war poets. The way they wrote about honor and sacrifice is beautiful. Nothing like human poetry, but equally moving." Despite his worry, Velthar felt curious. "You really enjoy Vrak's culture?" "I love it. Every species has unique perspectives, unique ways of seeing the universe. Learning about them makes me understand existence better." Day pulled out a datapad. "I wanted to ask you about something. This poem references the breaking storm. What does that mean in Vrak's philosophy? They talked for over an hour. Velthar found himself relaxing, enjoying the conversation. Day asked intelligent questions and listened carefully to his answers. It felt good to share his culture with someone who genuinely cared. But the pleasant afternoon ended when Hana entered the room, her face grim. "We have a problem," she said. "Vel, you need to see this." She showed him a public broadcast. A Vrak's male stood before cameras, his skin flushed with anger. Velthar recognized him, Thektal, a former military officer who never accepted the peace treaty. "Citizens of Thesara Prime," Thektal said on the recording, "I speak to you today about a betrayal. Commander Velthar, once a decorated soldier, has sided with humanity against his own people. Yesterday he risked Vrak's lives to save humans from a mining accident. This is unacceptable," the broadcast continued. Thektal called for protests against the human outpost. He claimed humans were secretly planning to take over the colony. He said Velthar was a traitor who should be arrested. "This is insane," Velthar said. "I saved Vrak's miners too. Everyone was trapped together." "Truth does not matter to people like him," Hana said. "He wants conflict. He needs an enemy. How many followers does he have?" Teho asked, worried. "Enough to be dangerous. There are about 50 Vraks on this colony who still hate humans. Most keep to themselves, but Thektal is organizing them." Velthar felt sick. "I need to talk to him." "Explain what really happened." "He will not listen," Hana said. "I have seen this before. Some people never stop fighting the last war." She was right. Over the next 2 days, protests started outside the human outpost. Angry Vraks carried signs calling for the humans to leave. Some signs showed Velthar's face with the word traitor written across it. The colony security tried to keep peace, but tensions grew. Velthar visited Rixtar again. His old friend listened to everything in silence. "I warned you," Rixtar said finally. "I told you the humans coming here was not coincidence. Now look what happened. You are marked as a traitor by your own people." "I saved lives, both Vraks and human lives. That is not betrayal. To Thektal and his followers it is. They see cooperation with humans as weakness. As for getting all the soldiers who died in the war, I have not forgotten," Velthar said quietly. "I remember every soldier who died under my command. Every battle, every mistake I made. But holding on to hate will not bring them back. So what will you do?" "I do not know yet." That night Velthar could not sleep. He stood at his window watching the outpost in the distance. Small lights glowed where the humans stayed. He thought about Hana, Taiho, and Day. They came here in peace, offering friendship. They did not deserve threats and protests. His communication device beeped. A message from Hana. "Can you come to the outpost? Need to discuss security concerns." Velthar arrived 20 minutes later. The outpost was locked down tight. Guards watched every entrance. Hana met him at the door. "Thank you for coming. I wanted to warn you. We intercepted communications suggesting Thektal is planning something bigger than protests." "Like what?" "An attack. On the outpost or on you personally. We are not sure which." Velthar felt cold. "When?" "Tomorrow night, during the cultural exchange ceremony." The ceremony was meant to be a celebration. Humans and Vraks sharing food, music, and stories. The colony administrator planned it to improve relations. Now it might become a battlefield. "What do you need from me?" Velthar asked. "Honestly, we need you to stay away. If you are here during the attack, Thektal will use it as proof you are collaborating with us against your own people. But you will be vulnerable. You are only 30 humans against 50 or more angry Vraks." Hana smiled grimly. "Vel, we are humans. Being outnumbered is our normal state. This is not a joke. People could die, I know. But we have handled worse odds." She paused. "The real question is what happens after. If we defend ourselves successfully, it might make things worse for human-Vraks relations." Teho entered the room. "Maybe we should cancel the ceremony. Leave the colony entirely. Let things calm down." "No," Day said, following behind him. "That sends the wrong message. It says we run when threatened. That we are not serious about building friendships." "Day is right," Velthar said. "If you leave now, Thektal wins. He gets to say that humans are weak and scared." "So what do we do?" Teho asked. Everyone looked at each other. Finally, Velthar spoke. "We hold the ceremony as planned. We increase security quietly, and we show Thektal that fear will not work." "That is risky," Hana said. "For all of us." "Yes, but the alternative is letting hate and fear control our choices. I spent 30 years running from my past, from my fear of humans. I am done running. Hana studied his face. You understand what this means? If you stand with us during an attack, there is no going back. You will be marked as a traitor forever by some Vrax. I understand, but I would rather be called a traitor by Thektal than know I let innocent people get hurt because I was too afraid to act. Then we stand together, Hana said. She extended her hand. This time Velthar did not hesitate. He shook her hand firmly. That night Velthar visited Rixtar one more time. He explained the situation and his choice. You are a fool, Rixtar said, but there were tears in his eyes. A brave fool, but still a fool. Maybe. But I need to do this. Rixtar was quiet for a long time. Then he stood up slowly. If you are going to be a fool, you should not be a fool alone. I will come with you. Rix, you do not have to. I know, but maybe it is time I stopped hiding too. The next evening, as the sun set over Thesara Prime, Velthar and Rixtar walked toward the human outpost together. Above them, the first stars appeared. Velthar remembered looking at similar stars 30 years ago, wondering if he would survive the war. Now he walked toward another battle. But this time he was fighting for something instead of against something. That made all the difference. The cultural exchange ceremony started peacefully. Inside the outpost, Vrax and humans shared food and music. Day taught interested Vrax about human customs while learning Vrax songs. Teho told stories that made everyone laugh. Even some protesters from earlier days came inside, curious despite their anger. Velthar stood near the wall, watching everything carefully. Hana did the same from the opposite side of the room. Rixtar stayed close to the entrance, his old military instincts making him check exits constantly. The human guards were positioned subtly throughout the room, looking relaxed but ready. This is nice, June said, walking up to Velthar. The human miner was still recovering but insisted on attending. Thank you again for saving us. I never got to say that properly. You are welcome. How do you feel? Better every day. Humans heal fast. Stubborn bodies, stubborn minds, June smiled. Hana says you were military. That you saw some bad fighting? Yes, very bad. I was too young for the war, but my parents fought. They do not talk about it much. I think it hurt them deeply. June looked around the room. But look at this. Humans and Vrax sharing food, telling stories, laughing together. This is what they fought for, right? This chance at peace. Before Velthar could respond, an explosion rocked the building. The windows shattered. People screamed. Velthar's training kicked in immediately. He grabbed June and pulled him behind cover. Everyone down, Hana shouted. Her weapon was already in her hand. Guards, defensive positions. More explosions hit the building. The walls held, but debris rained from the ceiling. Through the broken windows, Velthar saw Thektal, and at least 40 armed Vrax approaching. Traitors, Thektal shouted. You will not corrupt our colony with human lies. They opened fire. Energy blasts hit the building's shields, draining them rapidly. Hana's guards returned fire, carefully aimed shots meant to disable rather than kill, but they were badly outnumbered. We need to evacuate the civilians, Hana said. Back exit now. Teho and Day started moving people toward the rear of the building. But more attackers appeared, cutting off that escape route. They were surrounded. This is not good, Rixtar said, crouching next to Velthar. His hands shook, but his eyes were clear. Like the old days. Surrounded, outnumbered? Like the old days, Velthar agreed. He looked at Hana. We need to buy time for colony security to arrive. How long? 10 minutes. Maybe 15. We can hold for 15 minutes. Hana spoke into her communication device. All guards, defensive protocol 3. Protect the civilians. Non-lethal force when possible. The human guards moved with incredible efficiency. They set up overlapping fields of fire, created defensive positions, and organized the panicked civilians. Velthar watched them work and remembered why humans were so dangerous in war. They did not panic. They did not freeze. They just did what needed to be done, Commander Velthar. Thektal's voice boomed from outside. Come out and face justice. You betrayed your people for these monsters. Velthar stood up. Hana tried to stop him, but he shook his head. He walked to the broken window where Thektal could see him. I betrayed no one, Velthar called back. I saved lives. Both Vrax and human lives. That is my duty. Your duty is to your species. These humans killed thousands of our soldiers. And we killed thousands of theirs. The war's over, Thektal, we lost. Holding on to hate will not change that. We did not lose. We were betrayed by weak commanders like you. Thektal raised his weapon. You will die for your crimes. Energy blasts tore through the air. Velthar dove behind cover, but he noticed something. Tektel's followers were hesitating. Some lowered their weapons. They had not come here expecting to kill Velthar, a decorated war hero. They expected him to back down. They are uncertain, Rixtar observed. Tektel is losing control. Velthar saw the opportunity. He stood up again, hands visible and empty. I am Commander Velthar. I served for 23 years. I fought in 43 battles. I watched hundreds of soldiers die under my command. His voice carried across the battlefield. And I am telling you that this attack is wrong. These humans came in peace. They saved Vrak's lives in the mining accident. They have done nothing to deserve your violence. Several of Tektal's followers lowered their weapons completely. Others looked confused. Tektal's face twisted with rage. Do not listen to him. He is a traitor. Fire! But most of his followers did not fire. Instead, they started backing away. Tektal looked around in panic as his support crumbled. Then he aimed his weapon directly at Velthar. Hana was faster. Her shot hit Tektal's weapon, destroying it without harming him. He stumbled backward, shocked. It is over, Hana said calmly. Colony security is here. Put down your weapons. Indeed, security vehicles surrounded the area. The colony administrator himself stood with a loudspeaker. This illegal attack ends now. Drop your weapons and surrender. Anyone who complies will be treated fairly. The remaining attackers dropped their weapons quickly. Tektal stood alone, unarmed and defeated. Security officers moved in to arrest them all. The danger passed, but Velthar's legs felt weak. He sat down heavily. Rixtar sat next to him. We survived, Rixtar said, sounding amazed. Again! Again, Velthar agreed. Hana approached them. You took a big risk standing up like that. It needed to be done. Those people were scared and confused. They needed someone they respected to tell them the truth. Well, it worked. She offered him water. Thank you. Over the next few days, things slowly calmed down. Most of Tektal's followers apologized. They explained they were afraid of humans because of war stories and propaganda. Meeting actual humans who were kind and reasonable changed their minds. Several asked Taiho about starting regular cultural exchanges. Tektal himself was arrested but not harmed. He would face justice through the legal system, not through violence. Even that felt like progress to Velthar. 1 week after the attack, Taiho called Velthar to the outpost for a meeting. Day and Hana were there too, along with several colony officials. We have a proposal, Taiho said. The human government wants to establish a memorial and reconciliation center here on Thesara Prime. A place where humans and Vraks can learn about the war from both perspectives. Where we can honor the dead while building peace for the living. Why here? Velthar asked. Because you live here. The commander who chose mercy over revenge. The soldier who saved human prisoners when ordered to kill them. You are a symbol of what peace can look like. Taiho paused. We want you to help build and run this center. Along with Hana and Day. Velthar looked at Hana. She nodded. I have been thinking about my brother a lot. About what he wanted his death to mean. I think he would like this. A place where people can understand why the war happened and why it must never happen again. We would document everything. Day added. The battles, the strategies, the suffering on both sides. Not to glorify war, but to show its true cost. To teach future generations. What about the other veterans? Velthar asked. The ones who still struggle? We help them too, Taiho said. Create support groups, therapy programs, community spaces. No one should face their trauma alone. Velthar thought about Rixtar slowly coming out of isolation, about the other veterans who hid on distant colonies, about all the people broken by war who needed healing. Yes, he said, I will do it. 6 months later, the Memorial Center opened. It was a beautiful building with exhibits showing both Vraks and human history. One room displayed the names of fallen soldiers from both sides. Another showed artifacts from the war. A third offered peaceful spaces for meditation and reflection. In the center stood a monument. It showed a Vrak soldier and a human soldier shaking hands. The inscription read, They fought so we could choose peace. At the opening ceremony, hundreds attended. Humans and Vraks mixed freely, talking and learning. Rixtar gave a speech about overcoming trauma. Day presented research on cross-species understanding. Hana taught defensive tactics to a mixed group of young recruits, and Velthar stood before the monument bearing Hune's name. The nightmares had not stopped completely. They might never stop. But they were different now. Less terrible, because he understood them better. Hana joined him at the monument. They stood together in silence for a while. A student asked me today what humans are really like. Velthar said finally. What I learned in the war. What did you say? I said humans are exactly as dangerous as they need to be, and exactly as kind as we allow them to be. He looked at her. Was I right? Hana smiled. Yes, we are survivors. We do what we must to protect what we love. During war, that meant becoming monsters. During peace, it means becoming friends. It is a good answer. They watched the sun set over Thesera Prime, two veterans who once fought on opposite sides, now standing together to build something better than what they left behind. The war was over. The healing had begun. And somewhere in the universe, maybe Hyun and all the others who died could finally rest.